Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to another video, and welcome to a video all about a desktop PC. You don't have to build it yourself, and it's this, the MSI Aegis X. And this is a fairly small computer. I mean, it comes in at under 20 litres, and it still packs some serious hardware, as this particular one has two SSDs in RAID 0, and those are NVMe drives no less. And it packs an i7 6700K Skylake processor along with a GTX 1080. Taking a closer look at the unit itself reveals that it is a fairly gamer-centric design, so some people really won't like this, others will, so it's going to depend entirely on your personal preference. But personally I quite like it, and I really do like the fact that it is so compact and it is really small. On the front of the unit you will find a DVD drive, and it is a shame that they haven't included a Blu-ray drive here. I'd sort of rather that they either ditched it altogether or provided a Blu-ray drive, as this is such an expensive unit. I know a lot of people won't use a Blu-ray drive, but to be honest, no one's really going to use a DVD drive either these days. So yeah, would prefer to see a Blu-ray drive here. Moving down the unit, you'll find headphone and microphone jacks, power buttons, and then you've also got three USB ports, one of which is Type-C, and then moving all the way down to the bottom, you will find that you have an HDMI socket, should you wish to use the pass-through, and then you can plug in a HDMI headset if you so desire for easy VR. Now, the other cool thing about the unit is just how easily everything takes apart and how simple it is to upgrade certain parts of the system. Pretty much everything can actually be upgraded. MSI haven't disabled anything for you here, but some stuff is definitely more easily accessible than the others. On the left hand side, the panel removes, and it's here you've got an NVMe slot and then your RAM slot. So if you want to upgrade your RAM, you can do that here, and if you do want to swap out the PCIe drive or add one if your system doesn't come with one, then you can do that. But if you do have a system that comes with RAID 0, like the one I've got here, you're probably best off avoiding touching these because you might actually end up cocking up your RAID system. Now, the top of the system is just as easy to upgrade as well. You have two 3.5-inch drive bays, so you can easily insert additional storage if you want to, as well as a 2.5-inch drive bay as well, that you can quickly insert an SSD or hard drive in if you so desire. And then this is where the upgrades get a little bit more tricky, as you will find a warranty sticker that does block the screw to unscrew the other side of the system. So if you're looking at it from the front, the right hand side of the system is protected by a warranty seal, so do so at your own peril. But it is going to be fairly easy to insert a new graphics card around the other side, but you're going to have to make sure that it is compatible with this, as it is quite a small chassis and it is pretty much designed to take the GTX 1080 Armor Edition that does come in this system. You've also got a water cooler for the processor, and you can swap out the processor if you so desire as well. It's not very easily accessible, and if you do want to do that, your upgrades are fairly limited, as you're probably buying the i7 version in the first place, in which case the only upgrade you're going to be able to do is to go down the Kaby Lake route when you get the chance, but whether that is actually going to offer any performance increases does remain to be seen, as at the time of filming, Kaby Lake is not yet released. Now, the final things to talk about before we move on to performance is the unique MSI features and then the acoustics of the system. As the system does have a one-touch overclock button right on the front, so this little thing here, simply press that and then your system will enter OC mode and it will overclock itself to get you more performance. Brilliant. Now, this does ramp up the acoustic noise levels a little bit, but it's never anything intolerable. And the RGB lighting on the system can also be customized in software, and it sort of shines through the grills of the system and it does look really cool. But there is a problem, and it is the biggest problem that I have with the system, and that is that the power supply in the unit itself is just way too loud. It's got an absolutely tiny fan, and to be frank, for using on your desk and using as an office machine, it's just ridiculously loud. It's so unnecessary. I really wish they'd put in a quieter fan here, because it's just annoying. It ruins an otherwise pretty perfect small compact system, with the fact that if you do want to sit in your room in silence, if you don't want to put music on or play games at high volumes, then you are going to have a constant fan buzz. It's not really a problem, and I dare say most people just wouldn't even think about it. They'd just be like, right, well, the system's on. But as someone that is used to using silent systems, it is a bit of a disappointment. But as soon as you do start playing music or you do start playing games or movies, yeah, it's not a problem whatsoever because the overall system noise is actually pretty low at load compared to some of the other systems I've used. It's just a lot louder than some of the other systems I've used when it is at idle. But now is probably the time to talk about performance. So the one I've got here features two NVMe drives. So that's the solid state drives and RAID 0, and they are incredibly quick. I mean, looking at the benchmarks, I've got over 3,000 megabytes when it comes to read speeds, which is absolutely crazy. Write speeds were a little bit more disappointing at over 1,000, but that still isn't anything to be sniffed at whatsoever. Booting into the system is remarkably quick, and playing and booting games is also just as quick and nippy, and if you are going to be doing anything that's going to take advantage of these speeds, it's going to be really nice to have. In terms of performance though, this is going to be just as happy as a editing machine as it is a gaming machine, because the i7 Skylake combo with the GTX 1080 is just a serious bit of kit. It's something I've been using in my personal gaming system for a long time now, and it's so versatile. If you want to do 4K video editing, you want to do gaming, it's not a problem whatsoever. So as we move on to the gaming benchmarks now, I will have to look at my handy little cheat sheet because I want to make sure I get this right. I'm looking at the wrong page. So Crystal Disk Mark, we got a read speed of 3,131 megabytes on the read speeds, and then on the writes we got 1,033, so both ridiculously fast and way quicker than a SATA SSD ever could get you. In terms of rendering, I did my 4K video test. It's pretty synthetic, it's just rendering one 4K file. It's a 2-minute file and it did it in 2 minutes and 33 seconds in DaVinci Resolve, which is pretty good, and no one's really going to have too much of an issue when it comes to render times. Temperatures, during gaming loads I hit 78 degrees on the GPU and then 67 on a full rendering workload on the CPU, so both of them's actually pretty good at all. The system never gets loud either, so it's not like you're sacrificing noise for low temperatures. Everything's nice and dandy there. Moving on to gaming performance though, this is one serious bit of kit, and regardless of what resolution you want to play and what games you want to play, you're going to be able to do it without too much of a fuss. 3D Mark Time Spy in the silent mode, we got a score of 6,877, and then it was 6,892 in the OC mode. So it's perhaps a little bit disappointing that overclocking the system doesn't really gain you that much extra performance, but yeah, it's not really too much of an issue because it's pretty quick to begin with. I would like to point out that silent mode really isn't silent either, so don't take their word for that. Fallout 4, playing at 1440p ultra settings, I got an average of 90 frames a second in the particular area that I was playing. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, it's capped at 91 frames a second, which is frankly pathetic, and it makes me so angry that they do this. So at 1440p we got an average of 91, surprise surprise. But really testing the system and moving on to 4K, again at ultra settings 1x SMAA, we got an average of 80 frames a second, which is remarkably impressive. And then in Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider I should say, 1440p, very high SMAA. We also got a frame rate of 91 frames a second, what a coincidence there. So yeah, that's the actual raw benchmarks of the system. Numbers obviously speak louder than words, but I would prefer to speak louder with my words and say that if you do want to play games, this is by far pretty much the best system you can get. The only real way to improve this would be to overclock the CPU manually and replace the GTX 1080 with a Titan, because it doesn't seem to be restricted at all in terms of cooling performance, so you're not missing out by having a small system, and it's an incredibly impressive bit of kit. Obviously, the main downsides to a system like this come with price, as it is more expensive than if you decided to build this system yourself, but you do get some luxuries like RGB lighting, a case that you can't get in any other system, and a really compact system. Main alternatives, if you're after something like this, would be to build it yourself in a normal sized tower, but I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, building your PC is the best option, never buy anything like this, because console gaming exists for a reason, right? People don't want to build their own PCs, and the people that do probably already have. If you do want me to make a comment, I will say that I would highly recommend that you do at least look into building your PC, because it gives you the flexibility, but to be honest, you're in no way harming yourself by going for this system, as long as you don't mind having a little bit more noise at idle than I would like, which is why the system wins the Top Performer Award. I really can't fault it in terms of performance. I just think that I would much prefer to have a quieter system at idle. And it is a more expensive way of getting your own system, and building it yourself, of course, will be cheaper. But it's a remarkably impressive bit of kit, and anyone that does go out and buy it, I don't think they would be disappointed. And so there you go. I hope you've enjoyed this hopefully short little video review of the Aegis X. Thanks to MSI for shipping out this review sample. And if you want to know more about the unit, hit me up down in the comments below, on Twitter, on Instagram, it's at PC Centric. So thanks again. Thanks to Corsair for sponsoring the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.